everyone, Kalla here. Welcome to my live stream. Glad you could make it today. So today we will be playing more Variable Barricade. Last time, the suitors tried to put on a rather fancy barbecue party and ended up setting fire to the house, so that's kind of how it's going with them. We also got a little flashback from Hibari on how she met Kasuga. And yeah. Hello, Drag. How you doing? Alright, so the thing we can do now is to go and see what our best friend Samuki has to say about these guys.
Barbecue が始まった途端に犬が侵入して那由他くんが大暴れ。一夜さんは犬の前に飛び出すし、タイガさんはコンロを蹴り飛ばすし、シオンさんは炎の前でものんびりしてて、本当に大変な一日だったわ。やっぱり彼らは変な人たちよ。
Let out a sigh, having finally concluded the harrowing tale of the great barbecue debacle.
でも、お怪我がなくて一安心ですわ。ところで、名前呼びにステップアップしましたのね。それはいつ、どこで、何がきっかけですの？やはりロマンスはイベントが命ですわね。
The sudden glint in Samugi's eye made me shiver.
違うの。そういうのじゃないってば。これは彼らが勝手に。それで三森さんは庭の片付け、イスルギさんと八神さんはすすの掃除、眉住さんは休憩。春日も大変だったわね。
鬼の形相はおっかなかったな。つうかその呼び方堅苦しくねえか？
俺たちの愛も深まってきたことだし、ファーストネームで呼び合うにはちょうどいい頃合いかもしれないな。
Delusional as always.
愛なんて1ミリも深まってないし、呼び方を変える気も全くないから。
照れてる君の横顔も可愛いよ。
僕もひばりちゃんに名前で呼んでもらえたら嬉しいな。ね、シオンって呼んでみて。
I hope that resolves all the issues that you had with that, Drag. I have had a busy work day. But other than that, I'm good.
あ、シオンさんずるい。俺もひばりさんに名前で呼んでほしい。
誰のことも名前で呼ぶなんて言ってないでしょ。今のままでも不便はないもの。
まあそういうのって一緒にバーベキューした仲だろ。
晴れでバーベキューしたって言えるの？
俺、ひばりさんに名前で呼ばれたら地球の裏側からでも飛んできます。だからお願いします。
さあ、恥ずかしがらずに。
Thankfully, they don't all come from the same family. Yeah, it's fine. We can just keep calling them their family names. Clearly not, though.
わかったわよ。
I finally caved, trying to squirm away from Mitsumori, who also casually leaned into my personal space. I had to admit, their persistence impressed me. Not positively, of course. Reluctantly, I turned to face Mitsumori. He subtly shifted to try to show off his best angle, which irked me. But I ignored that for the moment.
三森さんは一夜さん。
なんて甘い響きだろう。まるで新婚さんのようだね。
Really want to punch him in the face. I pretended not to see his cheesy wink. I pretended not to see his cheesy wink. Next, I turned to face Mayuzumi, who was already smiling beautifully.
まゆずみさんはシオンさん。
Yeah, they are burrowing in, aren't they?
ひばりちゃんに名前で呼ばれるのって新鮮。いっぱい呼んでいいからね。
I imagined it would be less often than he'd like. Next, I turned to Izurugi, who was smirking.
イスルギさんはタイガさん。
めんどくせえ。3も取っちまえよ。
絶対嫌。
Cutesy nicknames were out of the question. There was a line. Finally, I turned to Yagami. He stared intently, quivering ever so slightly like a border collie that knew it was about to get a treat.
ヤガミさんはなゆたくん。
Given Nayata's childish mannerisms and boundless energy, I felt like I was naming a pet rather than a person. Yagami, true to form, didn't notice my hesitation. He was too busy staring rapturously at the ceiling.
ひばりさんに名前で呼んでもらっちゃった。うわー、やったー。
His overblown reaction didn't help me feel any less embarrassed about the whole name fiasco. All I could do was sit there, stewing in embarrassment and frustration while they all crowed with joy.
つまり彼らに押し切られただけ。勢いに任せて押し切る。いつものやり口よ。
I made no effort to hide my annoyance, but Tsumugi looked as pleased as a cat with a freshly caught mouse.
ロマンスの階段1段目はクリア。そろそろ頃合いですわね。
何の？
花婿候補の品定めですわ。ロマンスの階段2段目はひばり様にふさわしいお相手選び。そうとなれば黙ってはいられません。
Tsumugi, none of them were particularly appropriate.
黙ってられないって何？
自他共に認めるあなたの親友である私が花婿候補の皆さんを見極めて差し上げますわ。小獣との名にかけて。というわけで週末お邪魔いたしますので。
Tsumugi, in the same room as them. A part of me recognized this was probably a bad idea, but as Tsumugi invited herself to visit over the weekend, I just quietly nodded along.
もうすぐつむぎが来ちゃう。春日、お茶の用意はできてるわよね。
ええ。加野様がお好みの茶葉をご用意しておりますよ。
クッションもスリッパも出したし、あとは
I finished doling out instructions, then sighed and turned to the four men lounging on the couches.
あなたたち。
俺らか？
Behave!
他にいないでしょ。今日は私の友達が来るんだから、変なこと言ったりやったり絶対しないで。
Yep. You lot, on your best behavior.
変なこと？
つむぎ 麦が見たがってた本出し忘れてたわ。早くしないと。
Turning my back on them, I went back to preparing for Samugi's arrival. I was putting a few more things in order in my rooms when I paused, struck by a sudden sense of unease. Well, yeah, good point. Maybe we should have them on their worst behavior. That's true. Then maybe she'll agree with us that we shouldn't be forced into this. Hello, Nick. How you doing? Was it really wise to allow Samugi to meet the four of them? There was no telling what that pack would do. And Samugi had a far more intense personality than one would guess simply from looking at her. This wasn't a bad idea, was it? No, it was too late to think about it now. Samugi was already on her way over. And besides, I was honestly overjoyed that she was coming for a visit. There was little better way to spend a weekend than sipping tea and chatting while nibbling on sweets. I had to make sure everything was perfect. I had to, even though it was utterly unlikely the day would see it. No, wait. I've forgotten how you pronounce that. Is it Sieg or Segway? Oh no, I've forgotten. I've forgotten how to pronounce that. Well, whatever the word it is. Into a nice, uneventful weekend. It is Segway, is it?
ひばりちゃん張り切ってね。朝からずっとそわそわしてる。
It's not a word I tend to use. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is Segway. It's one of those words you look at and isn't necessarily pronounced the way it's written. Well, it probably is in whatever language English stole it from.
あの年頃の女の子は友人とのおしゃべりが一番楽しいものなのさ。時間を忘れて語り合えるのが嬉しいんだろう。
そうなんですか。ひばりさんが時間を忘れておしゃべりするお友達ってどんな人なんだろう。
It's actually a person who I would be happy to talk to for hours and hours. Wow, Naita. Wow. I feel like there are two of those people. Samugi and Kasuga, right?
つっても毎日学校で会ってんだろ。家に来るくらいではしゃぎすぎじゃねえ。
Tiger doesn't get it.
ひばり様にとってそれほど大切なご友人だということですよ。人と接することが苦手なひばり様が唯一プライベートでも一緒に過ごしたいと思われるご親友。
あのお嬢がそこまで大事にしてるたちか。興味湧くな。
ああ、それにひばりさんの大切な人は俺にとっても大切な人だからね。彼女を存分にもてなさなければいけないな。
俺も頑張っておもてなしします。ジュースついだり、お菓子準備したり、肩たたきしたり、昼寝の用意したり。
お友達に怖がられないようにね、なゆた。でも、それなら僕も何かお手伝いするよ。あ、彼女たちのお話し相手がいいかな。
Is that the only thing you can think of that you're possibly capable of?
そのような余裕があれば良いのですが。
どういうこと？
一応忠告しておきます。カノ様を決して侮ってはいけません。気を抜けば足元を救われますよ。
Ah, they're suitably terrified. I just finished putting the last few things in order when my phone vibrated in my pocket. I will arrive shortly. I'm very much looking forward to meeting everyone. For some reason, I could see Tsumugi grinning as she typed the message I was reading. Do we have permission for a sleepover party? Nah. Probably still no. I wonder if we might have permission for a sleepover party here. No, it would be fine. I ignored my growing unease and went to meet her at the door. As Tsumugi stepped out of a modest limousine, I couldn't help but grimace. She was not wearing her usual school attire. Oh no. She was in something entirely different. Ooh. What level of formal to casual do we think Tsumugi's turned up in? I'm gonna go with we're going on the casual end of that scale. Well, either. Oh no, it could be either. It could be a very casual outfit, or it could be full-on kimono. Oh! Oh, okay! Okay! Gothic Lolita! I did not see that coming. I didn't see that coming. So is this her hobby then? Man, are those earrings spider webs? That is pretty cool. Oh, actually, it's pretty cool. A lavishly designed and exceptionally frilly black Gothic Lolita dress, complete with black lace parasol. Ooh, we gotta zoom out. There is some serious skirt going on there. Yep. Tsumugi smiled innocently and twirled her parasol. Her cute smile sharpened ever so slightly. Not that I was about to give voice to my observation. Fighting back my ballooning dread, I slowly opened the door to the foyer.
Kano-sama, ようこそいらっしゃいました。
春日さん、お邪魔いたしますわね。
Tsumugi politely greeted Kasuga, then turned to the four men, her shark-like smile still in place.
はじめまして、加納紬と申します。以後お見知りおきを。
イスルギ大河だ。すげえ服だな。
まあ、お褒めいただき光栄ですわ。
俺、八神那由他です。お姫様みたいな服ですね。
八神さん、面白い方ですのね。
はじめまして、紬さん。俺の名前は三森一也。まるであつらえたように似合っているね。君に着てもらえてドレスも幸せだろう。さすがひばりさんの心の友だ。
Ichia, her family's rich. That dress probably was made for her alone. There was probably a fancy tailor involved.
まるで漫画に出てきそうな褒め言葉、ありがとうございます。
Wow, Tsurugi!
紬ちゃん、こんにちは。僕は眉住しおん。そのゴシックロリータ、凝ったデザインだね。特にネックラインとか。
まあ、ゴスロリをご存知ですのね。
フランスにも熱狂的な愛好家がいたから、ゴスロリ以外のロリータファッションも人気があるみたいだしね。
そうですのよ。ゴスロリだけでなく、アマロリやクラロリなど、ロリータの魅力はまさに天井知らず。
Well, you got your wish of being a conversation partner, Shia.
ですが私はやはり甘辛が絶妙なハーモニーを奏でるゴスロリに耐え難い魅力を感じずには。
紬、今はそこまで。
あら、私ったら。
Tsumugi coyly put her hand over her mouth and giggled.
ではお嬢さん方、ソファーへどうぞ。美味しい紅茶と甘いお菓子で優雅なティーパーティーを始めよう。
He punctuated his offer with his trademark wink. Of course, I sighed in exasperation and stole a quick glance at Tsumugi beside me. She wore her irritation on her face. I was surprised she didn't exclaim at how terrible Ichia sounded.
紬は華道宗家の一人娘で、今から家を継ぐことも決まってるのよ。
I finally gave Tsumugi her overdue proper introduction as we sat on the sofa. She smiled and shook her head.
家を継ぐといえば聞こえはいいですけれど、実際は地味な仕事がほとんどですのよ。
そうなると紬さんは次期家元ということだろう。華道のカノ流は世界的に有名だと聞いたことがあるよ。
That sounds like you did your research before she got here, Ichia.
正解。紬さん、すごいんですね。
さすがはお嬢のダチって感じだな。
僕はカノ流の華道展覧会、パリで見たよ。生けられた花に動きがあって綺麗だった。
まあ、最高の褒め言葉ですわ。お花にご興味がありましたら、ぜひごひいきに。
Tsumugi smiled elegantly, and Shion returned it with a politely beautiful smile of his own.
さすがはあのプロポーズをなさった方々ですわね。皆さん、とても個性的ですわ。
Unique.
え？
あれ？気づいてなかったの？紬ちゃん、ひばりちゃんのすぐ隣にいたじゃない。
あ、てっきり初対面かと。あの時はひばりさんの輝きに目を奪われてしま。
So Shiona's observant.
俺全然気づかなかった。恥ずかしいな。
悪い、俺も気づかなかっ
あれだけ人が集まっていればそれも当然です。良きものを見せていただきましたわ。それに彼女からいろいろと事情は伺ってますのよ。共同生活の赤裸々話や皆さんの個性豊かな謎行動などなど。
She's putting a very polite spin on the fact that she knows all of the shit they've done.
ですから皆さんとお話しできるのを心の底から楽しみにしてましたの。
Secure in Tsumugi's sincere smile, Nayota leaned forward, fidgeting with barely restrained curiosity.
じゃあもしかして俺のこととかも何か聞いてるんですか？
もちろん俺のこともだよね。俺が作る料理のことや毎朝の挨拶、彼女から俺への思いなども含めて。
Both men were extremely interested and not even trying to hide it. Tsumugi gave them a conspiratorial smile.
もちの論ですわ。
ちょっとつむぎ。
Panicking, I tried to stop her, but she ignored me.
当然あなた方のことも伺ってますわよ。イスルギさん、マユズミさん。
Tsumugi, no!
どうせ文句ばっか言ってたんだろ。うるせえとか騒がしいとか。ここでも同じこと言ってんじゃねえか。
事実だもの。
I glared over at Tiger, which he pointedly ignored. Shion spoke up next. He was clearly enjoying himself.
それで彼女から聞いてた話と本物の僕たちどこか違った？
そうですわね。
Tsumugi's tone was pensive. She folded her hands in her lap with very deliberate movements.
ここは一つ皆さんからお話しいただけません？彼女の第一印象と一緒に暮らしている今の印象、私とても興味がありますの。
つむぎ、いい加減に。
何か問題でも？
The chill in Tsumugi's smile stopped me in my tracks, and I quietly retracted my statement. She's in full-on insufferable busybody-in-law mode. Satisfied, she nodded and turned back to the boys.
ではまず三森さんどうぞ。
トップバッターで彼女を語ることになるとはね。いいだろう。
She stroked his chin and struck a pose.
彼女の第一印象はクールな孤高の美少女。そして今もその印象はあまり変わらない。すべてがパーフェクト。すべてが完璧。俺の花嫁になるべくして生まれてきた何もかもが愛おしいお姫様だよ。
たくさん喋られた割に内容がペラペラですわね。具体性のかけらもなくて驚きでした。
I love Tsumugi. I love her.
え？いや、
では次の方、イスルギさん。
When When Tsumugi looked over at Tiger, he made an exaggerated show of rolling his eyes.
生意気そうなお嬢だと思ったけどな。話してみたら想像以上だったぜ。
I can't believe him!
イスルギさんもまだまだですわね。彼女の可愛いポイントはそこですのに。もっとちゃんと見ませんと損ですわよ。
Wait. Miss out?
まゆずみさんはどうです？
Shion smiled and tilted his head, thinking.
可愛い子だなって思ったよ。それにこの子は僕を必要としてるかもって。今も可愛いって思う。それは出会った頃よりもね。それにやっぱり彼女の隣が僕には似合う。
Tsumugi grimaced, momentarily shocked into silence by Shion's bold proclamation. After a moment, she said,
可愛いことには同意しますわ。
じゃあ最後は俺ですね。
Naoto raised his hand, wiggling in his seat. Tsumugi simply nodded at him.
俺のひばりさんの第一印象はすっごい綺麗でキラキラって感じで、いっぱい叱ってくれてギュッてかかとで。
かかと？
でも思ったより叱られないんです。きっとまだ俺に遠慮してるんですね。でも俺いつでも足待ってますから。
I've forgotten how much Naoto wants to be stepped on.
あなた、やばい方ですのね。
Having heard all four answers, Tsumugi crossed her arms and hummed in thought.
皆さん、まだまだ上辺だけをなぞった印象をお持ちのようですわね。
All four men dropped their gaze. Some even had the grace to look abashed. None of them said a word.
でも、彼女の内面を理解することが難しいのは私もよく知っています。友人になるのには苦労しましたもの。
理解とか苦労って。
繊細で照れ屋で可愛いという意味ですわよ。
何よそれ。
そういうところですわ。キュンですわ。
もう紬ったら。
お嬢、いつもと違くねえか。ツンツンしてねえっつうか。
執事君といる時ともちょっと雰囲気が違うよね。
ああ、なんというか愛らしさが増している。
ツンツンもいいですけど、いいな。
これがお嬢のデレ顔か。
で
Four of them muttered amongst themselves, then Ichia and Naota, their eyes gleaming, sidled up to Tsumugi, who was still smiling pleasantly.
はいはいはい。俺もデレの顔見せてほしいです。どうしたら見せてもらえるんですか？
ああ、ぜひ俺にもそのテクニックを、彼女の心を手に入れる秘策を。
Well, you two, I think the answer is you have to be as cute as Tsumugi, and I don't think you're gonna get there.
僕も教えてほしいかな。何かの役に立つかもしれないし。
まあまあまあ、どうしましょう。
Tsumugi made a dramatic show of sounding uncertain, and then turned to me, a bright smile on her face.
やめてよ。
ふふふふ。
紬ってば。
I shot a glare at Tsumugi, which she ignored. Seeing that, even Tiger decided to get in on the act. He leaned forward, a smirk on his face.
お嬢の弱点ってことか。なら興味あるな。
Smugi's grin only grew deeper.
そうですわね。ノーヒントで彼女の心を射止めようとすると数十年はかかるかもしれませんし、アドバイスくらいなら。
The four men grinned at each other like fools, only for Smugi to promptly dash their hopes.
ただし、私との勝負に勝てばのお話ですが。
Ah, what sort of game is this gonna be?
勝負
I stared at her in shock. Tiger's grin widened.
なんだ、賭けってか。面白い、その話。乗って。
Of course the gambling addict is up for this.
当然俺も参戦させてもらうよ。ひばりさん、もうすぐ心の鍵を開けてあげるからね。
僕もやるよ。ひばりちゃんのこと知りたいしね。
はいはい、俺もやります。テニスでもサッカーでもバスケでも何でもやります。
では手軽なトランプにいたしましょう。ひばり様もぜひご一緒にいかが？
Smugi's smile was the picture of innocence. I sighed and shook my head.
結構よ。
なんだよ、じゃあ。ずいぶん逃げ腰じゃねえか。
Tiger's needling didn't bother me. They were all about to learn a hard lesson about Smugi. I declined for a reason. A very good reason. Ah, Smugi is very good at card games, is she? Or is it less that she's very good and more that she's incredibly competitive?
では肩慣らしにババ抜きから。手札のご用意はよろしいですか？
Or does she know how to cheat? Everyone nodded. And so the card game battle began.
俺の手札は残り2枚。この勝負もらったよ。
一夜、格好つけて負けたら恥ずかしいよ。僕も同じ2枚だし。
一夜もシオンも気ぃつけろよ。こういうのは余裕こいたやつからぶっ倒れてくもんなんで。
俺も負けませんから。
At this point, Smugi held 15 cards. Anyone would presume she was losing. Is it actually possible to be holding 15 cards at any one time if you're playing Old Maid? That doesn't seem right. Yeah, 'cause you're pairing things, right? Which means the most individual different cards you could be holding is 14, right? Well, yeah, actually, yeah, they could be playing with 2 decks. That's true. No, that still doesn't work because you still couldn't be playing. You still couldn't have more than 14 cards in your hand, right? One of each number of cards, and the Old Maid itself, right? 13 plus the Joker. Or am I doing that math incredibly wrong? Because I feel like you couldn't be holding 15. And I've also miscalculated. Oh, you're missing the 10, Drag. So yeah, one of each of Ace through King, plus the Joker. That's the old maid. So that's assuming you're playing with it as a Joker rather than... Actually, no, that's not how you do it, is it? It's one of the queens, isn't it? So... Well, even so, you could still be holding the old maid queen and another queen. So yeah, 14, right? Ooh. I just need to turn the light on in here because it's going to be weirdly dark for this time of year. Well, regardless, she's apparently holding 15 cards and I'm not really sure how. At this point, Tsumugi held 15 cards. Anyone would presume she was losing. Well, apparently she's cheating, but... but I knew better. I could see her little smirk growing as she watched the four men bicker among themselves.
なぜ終わらない？
そろそろ上がりたいんだけど、僕。
カードが持ちきれない。
I don't think they're playing Old Maid. Sounds a lot more like they're playing Uno. Well, I mean, they're probably playing some sort of game that got localized as Old Maid, but is clearly not Old Maid. Although that certainly sounds like it. Doesn't sound like the Japanese version is played any differently. Tsumugi smiled and played her last card. Yeah, this isn't Old Maid. This is Uno. Surely. I could almost see the question marks orbiting the men's heads. They had every right to be confused. They hadn't even considered her a threat, but then she burst ahead and ran to the front of the pack. She discarded her cards one after another, and before they knew it, she had declared her victory. The reality of their loss was sinking in very slowly.
マジかよ。
何が起こったんだ？
なんで俺カードこんなに？
I could only sigh at their confusion. This is why I declined to play. Tsumugi was insanely good at playing cards. Not only that, she loved nothing more than to utterly crush her opponents. So she's very good and extremely competitive. I know how good she is. So when she offered to tell them about me if they won, I wasn't too concerned.
もう十分でしょ。早く片付け。
やってくれるじゃねえか。こっから本番だぜ。
そうだね、タイガー。成功に試練はつきものだ。俺は立ち向かう。紬さんという壁に。
確かにこのまま終わるのはちょっと違うかな。
俺今度は負けませんから。
Idiots. Seeing all four of them raring to go, Tsumugi smiled and gave them a little nod.
構いませんわよ。気がお済みになるまでお相手いたしますわ。
And so they challenged her again and again and again. Slam, bluff, Napoleon, sevens, concentration. You can't play sevens with 5 people though, not really. It only works with 3 or 4. Some of the others, I'm not sure which ones they are. Concentration is solitaire, isn't it? Bluff might be cheat. But yeah, they're not playing sevens with 5 people. It doesn't work. Well, I mean, they could. It's just gonna be a little bit wonky. I'm very good at sevens. But apparently Tsumugi is.
だろう。こんなやつ、ベガスでも見たことねえ。
Tsumugi is apparently the master of every card game in existence. Tiger slumped in defeat. Couldn't even touch Tsumugi at poker and blackjack. His 2 best games.
さあ、次は何で遊びましょうか。それとももう終わりですの？では、アドバイスはこのまま秘密ということで。残念ですわ。ですが、私も鬼ではありません。皆さんのガッツに敬意を表して仲良くなるヒントくらいは差し上げますわ。
Tsumugi leaned forward and the others quickly followed suit.
嘘をつかず、ありのままの自分を見せること。それができなければ、彼女の心を手に入れることは絶対にできません。
All 4 of them gulped at the cold finality in Tsumugi's voice.
私はロマンスが訪れることを心から祈っておりますのよ。ですから皆さんを敵とは思っておりませんが、万一彼女を傷つけるようなことがあれば、その時はねえ。
He's just like, if any of you hurt her, they will never find the body. Oh god, she was scaring me! Tsumugi smiled sweetly. The four men were too paralyzed by fear to even blink. Man, I love Tsumugi. She's great.
あら、もうこんな時間ですのね。私、そろそろおいとまいたしますわ。
Arrives, annihilates them all in every card game going, threatens them, leaves. Thank you for trying to figure out what they were playing, Drag. So it definitely wasn't old maid, despite the fact that they did actually use the Japanese name for that card game in the audio. Tsumugi stood, shaking her head sadly.
ぜひご一緒させていただきたいのですが、ここだけの話、修羅場が近いんですな。
Oh. Yeah. I think it's wiser to leave it at that. Probably.
それなら外まで送りに行くわ。
いえ、ここで大丈夫ですわ。それよりも。
She leaned in closer to whisper in my ear.
皆さんを脅しすぎたかもしれませんわ。彼らのフォローをお願いします。そこからまた新たなロマンスが。
Oh dear.
スムーギー。
おほほほ。それでは失礼いたします。皆さん、ごきげんよう。
Tsumugi gave a polite wave and left the room, Kasuga silently following in her wake. Her master plan sounds like it was never to appraise them but to force us to get closer to them. Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure that's been her plan the entire time. I mean, she definitely did some appraising. But yeah. Given that she basically said, if you want any chance, cut your bullshit. The moment she was out of the room, all four of the men heaved a sigh and slumped down in their seats.
すげえやつだな、お嬢のダチ。
なんか最強って感じでした。いろいろ。
もしかして今時の女子高生はみんなああなのか？
面白い子だったね、つむぎちゃん。
Listening to them talk among themselves about their impressions made me appreciate Tsumugi's strength. No matter how hard I tried, how hard I rebuffed them, it had barely seemed to make a dent on those four. But it was clear that she had thoroughly exhausted them.
京女の恐ろしさってやつかね。紬の実家、京都なんだろ？なんでこっちに出てきてんだ？
どうしてもやりたいことがあるから、中学と高校だけは家を出て暮らしてるの。長期の休みは家業を手伝う約束なのよ。
Why do I get the feeling that business she could only do in Tokyo involves very specifically Harajuku? Not that I will ever tell them that her business was cosplaying and otaku hobbies. Okay, I take it back, it's Harajuku and Ikebukuro.
はあ、なるほど。お嬢と同じ箱入りかと思ったけど、意外としっかりしてんのな。
どういう意味？
Excuse me. I glared daggers in his direction, but as usual, they just seemed to bounce off him.
そういや、俺も一人暮らしは高校からだな。バイトしてた記憶しかねえけど。
高校からってどうして？まさか家で？
Tiger burst out laughing.
ちょっとなんで笑うのよ。
ああ、腹痛い。なわけねえだろ。俺両親いねえし。
Well, that's something that the information we had didn't tell us.
生まれてすぐくらいの頃に児童養護施設の前に捨てられてたんだと。だから実家っつったらその施設だな。
We have learned new information. I was shocked, speechless at how nonchalantly Tiger recounted his abandonment. What in the world could he be so calm about something like that? Being abandoned by one's own parents is no easy thing to accept, and yet he spoke about it so easily. Not sure what to say, I looked around at the other three, hoping for some assistance. But they just looked back at me blankly, as if this wasn't news to them at all. Yeah, he has had 20-odd years to deal with that fact. He's probably covered it quite thoroughly, Hibari.
なんでお嬢が驚いてんだよ。心情調査したんだろ。
でもそんなこと書いてなかった。本当なの？
All the report had said was of unknown origin. I'd no clue what it actually meant.
嘘ついてどうすんだよ。隠してるわけでもタブーな話題でもねえし、施設生活は結構楽しかったしね。
He smiled at me and it didn't look fake in the least. I didn't know what to say.
でも一人暮らしってお金かかりますよね。俺毎月補修代の請求がすごくって。
補修代？俺が一人暮らしの時はそんなもの請求された覚えはないが。
僕の時もなかったよ。逆に家を貸してくれてた友人が映画館とかブティックとか増設してたかな。
Yeah, well, you're a special case, Shion.
それ家じゃねえだろ。
え？結構あるでしょ、そういう家。ひばりちゃん、疲れちゃった？
Sounds like you, only hang out with very rich people, Shion. Shion looked at me after noticing I hadn't said a word. I shook my head. A heavy lump had developed in my chest and I wasn't sure what it was. Apparently, there was still a lot about these men that I didn't know. We have that in common. I mean, given that it seems Hibari only really hangs out with Sumigi,
ご満足いただけて何よりでございます。
それで少しは牽制になりましたかしら。
ええ、間違いなく。ひばり様は素晴らしいご友人をお持ちになりましたね。
私は親友ですもの。彼女のためになるのでしたら何でもしますわ。春日さんも同じ気持ちですわよね。
ええ、もちろんでございます。
それを聞けて安心しましたわ。それでは私はこれで。ごきげんよう。
Barricade board. Welcome to the level 1 board selection. Each suitor has their own barricade board from level 1 to level 3. Here you can decide which level 1 board you want to play through first. Okay, we have to make a choice now. We have to make a choice now. All 4 suitors must have their level 1 boards cleared, regardless of which gentleman you eventually decide to court. The board you choose here won't affect the game's ending. Okay, never mind. We don't need to make a choice yet. We gotta do all the boards. Okay then. So chat, which board do you want to see first? What are we thinking? I mean, we could just go left or right. Which means I get the one I'm least looking forward to out of the way first. Is that a good idea? Yeah, if we've got to go through all of them, we might as well just start from left to right. I don't want to deal with it, Chia. Don't want to deal with it, Chia. Let's get him out of the way. Individual barricade boards have been unlocked. Each individual board contains events specific to a certain suitor. The goal of each board is to clear the events until you reach this large icon, the board's key event. The choices you make up to the key event has a significant impact on how the story proceeds. Remember, words and actions have consequences. I assume they're all going to be the same length, Drag. Words and actions have consequences. Oh no. I mean, it did tell me it doesn't affect the ending. No. The final event unlocks on the board once the key event is complete. Finish the climax to clear that suitor's board for that particular level. Fully cleared boards are deleted. Okay. I assume we haven't had more Wiz messages. Yeah. I assumed there would be some kind of notification if we had. Alright. Handsome looks, suave, a repertoire of sweet words and loving expressions. He had everything a girl would want from a perfect boyfriend. That was Ichiya Mitsumori. Does he though? Some of those things make me want to punch him. As one of the suitors grandfather chose for me, he spent every day actively courting my favour. Flirty and unwaveringly confident, he never gave up. If there is one thing that I could say about him, it's that dealing with him exhausts me. We'll have a look if we can swap boards. It looks like we can swap to the main board, but I don't know about the other ones. Pork cutlet lunch set with burdock root and stewed pumpkin, deep fried tofu and egg custard on the side. Tsumugi raised an eyebrow at the plates I plunked down. It all sounded pretty tasty. Actually, I don't know about the burdock roots. I'm not sure if I've had that. But the rest of it definitely sounded tasty. Ignoring Tsumugi's curiosity, I focused on moving my fork to my mouth. When the plates of my lunch, sides, and dessert were clean, I pat my mouth with a napkin and sighed happily. I hesitated for a moment, Tsumugi plopping her chin down in her hand and smiled patiently. You aren't worming your way out of this, madame. Her expression said it all. I sighed heavily as I tried to figure out where to start. I shook my head. Yeah, the food's fine. The person making it is not.
おはよう、俺の小指さん。今日のモーニングは姫仕様だよ。
Princess.
皿とカトラリー一式をアンティーク調で揃えてみたんだ。上品さが君にぴったりだね。しかも今日は特別サービス。ソースでひばりさんの似顔絵を描いてあげるから。お礼ならキスを唇に。
朝は簡単なものでお願いします。忙しいので。
Yeah, can we just have a bowl of cereal and a drink, dude? Or like toast?
おはようひばりさん。今朝はアボカドサンドを用意したよ。ゆで卵やハムも挟んで栄養満点さ。味はどうかな。
ま
あ。明日も期待しててくれ。
A bad feeling about this. The next morning,
今日はトマトを使ったつけ麺だよ。爽やかな甘酸っぱさが食欲を引き立たせるだろう。
For breakfast? Tomato-based dipping noodles? The day after.
おはようひばりさん。今日はロシアの定番朝ごはんカーシャを作ってみたんだ。
Okay, this at least sounds like breakfast. Are we pulling all night just to the point that breakfast is dinner, right? And finally, yesterday.
今日の朝ごはんはメキシコのケサディアを
For breakfast? Please.
普通のものが食べたい。
Yeah. But I forgot. I tried to go into her voice.
考えるよ。
Can we just have just normal breakfast? Stop trying to be all fancy.
今日の朝ごはんはどんなでしょうね。
フルコースとか準備してくんじゃねえか。和洋折衷ずらーっと並べてよ。
面白がらないで。
ひばりさん、朝食が用意できてるよ。どうぞこちらへ。
An omelette and toast sat on my plate. A small salad with mini tomatoes was on the side. Now this seems more like breakfast. Aside from that salad, but
普通だ。
普通だな。
a normal breakfast.
はあ、見た目はね。しかし大事なのは味と中身。今日は素材を厳選してみたんだ。
Maybe not a normal breakfast.
このミニトマトは有機栽培で有名な山田さんから、このオムレツの卵は味が濃いことで有名な斉藤農場ね。
What do you mean, right?
それは毎朝大変ですのね。でも三森さんもひばり様に喜んでいただくために一生懸命なんですわ、きっと。
I understood that. I knew he wasn't trying to be troublesome, but the bigger problem was...
おかわりができないの。一夜さん、女の子は全員ものすごく小食だと思ってるのよ。
So not only is he making weird stuff for breakfast, he's not making enough of it?
量より質だと思い込んでるから、毎回私のだけ食材とか盛り付けにこだわった別メニュー。
So it is just like being in a fancy restaurant with the tiny plates of stuff.
おかわり分なんて考えてないのよ。
お願いすればよろしいじゃありませんの。おかわりも作ってほしいって。
Smugi's idea sounded solid, but I shook my head.
それは絶対にダメ。
Yeah, the problem is that asking for seconds would encourage him. Yeah, that sort of thing, Drag. A tiny amount of food on a plate that, while small, is still far too large for the tiny amount of food.
ひばりさん、これだけで足りるんですか？
It is a rather small portion.
足りるに決まっているだろう。これでも多いくらいさ。 ひばりさんは女の子なんだから。
Now I really want to punch him in the face. What kind of reason is that?
大食いの君たちはおかわりが当然だと思っているかもしれないけれどね。ひばりさんは違うんですね。
いつもねって何よ、あんな言い方されたら。
それであのランチでしたのね。
どうしてあんなに料理にこだわるのかわからない。
Unconsciously, my hands drifted down to my tummy.
まだ食べられる気がする。デザートおかわりしようかしら。
それはさすがに食べ過ぎですわ。
Tsumugi, let the girl have a second dessert. She'll be fine.
ただい。
おかえり、ひばりさん。待っていたよ、俺の可愛いお姫様。離れている間ずっと考えていた。君は今何を思っているだろうって。
早く部屋に戻りたいと思ってます。
I turned and tried to make for my sanctuary, but Ichia reached out and grabbed my arm.
ひばりさん、一つだけ質問させてくれないか。
The little hint of desperation in his voice made me pause and look back.
一つだけなら。
今日のランチは何を食べたんだい？
I carefully held a neutral expression, hiding my panic. Had someone tattled on me? The giant lunch set, all the side dishes, and dessert. Who had snitched on my rumbling tummy?
なぜそんなことを聞くの？
夕食のメニューを考えていてね。ランチと同じものは避けたくて。ダメかな。
He looked serious. I relaxed my shoulders and forced my calm facade not to crack. He didn't know. Right now, that was all that mattered.
和風の定食よ。ごく普通の。
普通といっても、アニエスのシェフは有名ホテルでコック長を務めた人だろ。ネットで紹介されていたよ。
まあ、味に不満はないけど。
I was almost impressed at how well informed he was. But for some reason, my answer made Ichia's brows furrow in concern.
やはり素人の俺が作るものより一流のプロが作る方が君の口には合うのかもしれないな。
Ichia, who was usually a font of self-confidence, slumped his shoulders dejectedly. Outwardly, I maintained a disinterested look. Inwardly, my mind roiled in confusion. Okay, a choice, a choice, a choice. I'm not that particular. Or what makes you think that? Oh man! Which one of these is going to, result less in, him being weird? I guess dishes made by starred professional chefs aim to suit your palate more than anything an amateur home cook like me could make. I mean, I've seen your food. I don't think amateur is the right word. Yeah, I'm not that particular. Ooh, reason up. We have stats! Ichia swallowed hard, waiting to hear my next words.
一夜さんが思ってるほど私食事にこだわりはないの。好き嫌いもそんなにないし、普通に美味しければそれで十分満足よ。
Even better if there's enough of it to fill me up.
わかったよ。ありがとう。
Ichia turned to walk away, but I still caught the shadow of uncertainty in his eyes.
俺はどうすべきなんだろう。
Ichia's shoulders slumped in dejection again. I was looking at him bewildered when the front door opened.
帰ったぜーっと。
That's a different outfit.
一夜、また口説き文句が滑ってんのかよ。そろそろ違う手考えろって。
Tigersaurus smirked and let fly his usual snarky comments. Somehow this promptly revived Ichia, who made a show of brushing back his bangs and huffing.
ひばりさんへの配慮にかける大河に言われずとも策はあるさ。俺は女心への理解と知識が豊富でね。
I don't think you do, Ichia.
だからこそ高嶺の花であるひばりさんが愛おしいのさ。彼女はクールな俺の心に火をつけてくれる。
How does that make any sense? What, you were a depressed mess a minute ago? I stared at Ichia, dumbfounded. He turned and flashed one of his oh-so-suave smiles at me.
待っててくれ。今日こそは君の心を掴んで離さない。とっておきの料理を考えておくからね。
私はあくまで普通で。
期待してて。
He punctuated his offer/threat with his patented cheesy wink and strutted to the kitchen.
まあ、俺は腹が膨れりゃ何でもいい。
I sighed heavily, shaking my head at Tiger's blithe comment. Yeah, that's exactly what our girl wants. She just wants it to be filling. Okay, 2 items. Ichia from Tiger's perspective, or Ichia from Shion's perspective. Well, I mean, I'm gonna do both of them. we are gonna clear this board.
タイガさん、
I was standing right behind him, but the rumble of the engine drowned out my voice.
タイガさん、タイガさん。
ああ、どうしたお嬢。大声出して。
I wasn't shouting for fun. I was seized by the urge to snap a comeback, but I held my ire in.
聞きたいことがあるんだけど。
俺に
I nodded, then continued.
私が学校に行ってる間の食事ってどうしてるのかなって。
ああ、カップ麺とか残り物とかな。外出ることもあるか。俺は食わねえことも多いけどな。
Skipping lunch is a terrible idea, dude.
一夜さんの料理？
俺たちのために作るわけねえだろ。あいつが料理すんのお嬢のためだけだ。ああ、試食会は別な。そういう時はいろいろ食わされるぜ。
The problem wasn't that he was particular about cooking. He was only particular about what he cooked for me. Much, much too particular. He even makes others taste test his new dishes? I sighed, shaking my head. Tiger looked at me with a wry grin.
一夜なりに考えてんだろ。ある意味、4人の中で一番努力してるぜ。分かってやれよ。
I agreed with that part. Thinking of what to make, then going to the effort to cook it every single day. That isn't easy by any stretch of the imagination.
愛されてるよな。ここまでされて悪い気はしねえだろ。
意地になってるだけじゃない？前に茜の花がとか言ってたもの。
I wrinkled my nose and Tiger snorted at me.
相変わらずひねくれてんな。あんなに必死にやってんだから素直に受け取れって。
余計なお世話。
でもまあ、一夜も必死すぎるとこあるけどな。たまにはサバ味噌とか出せっての。
Exactly. Inwardly, I nodded in enthusiastic agreement. Ah, so we do have to do both of them before that one unlocks. Anyway, we don't actually have a choice in the matter.
シオンさん、何を
Shion expending effort? My voice cracked with shock. He looked up at me and smiled gently.
紅茶を入れてるところだよ。ひばりちゃんも一緒にどう？
シオンさんが自分で紅茶？
Why? He was the sort of person to call Nayata to grab something that was sitting next to his elbow. I stared at Shion in disbelief. His smile turned wry and he shrugged smoothly.
僕だって紅茶くらいは自分で入れるよ。頼める人がいればお願いするけどね。
Question is he only good at making tea? I looked down at the amber liquid in the cup I held. As far as I could tell, it was perfectly normal tea.
いただきます。
Hesitantly, I took a tiny sip.
おいしい。
He is good at making tea.
よかった。その辺にあった茶葉で適当に入れただけなんだけど。
Congratulations, Xian, we have found something that you're useful for. Aside from being pretty.
いいのよ、それで。
Really, it was. It was normal, everyday tea, and that was more than enough for me. So why did Ichia insist on making food complicated?
シオンさんは料理もできたりするの？
キッチンは一夜の城だからね。
Whether he could or not aside, it seemed there was no way to convince him to trade off duties with Ichia.
ひばりちゃんは一夜の料理、いや？
いや、ではないですけど。
I danced around the subject. Shion looked at me with a graceful smile.
一夜が自分のアピールポイントを見てもらおうとするのはいいと思う。けれど、本当の彼は尽くすのがあまり得意じゃないのかもって思うよ。
え？
That wasn't what I expected to hear. As long as Ichia had been here, well, as long as I had been in this house with him, he always seemed to be bustling from one task to another just for me. Shion thought for a moment and then nodded to himself. He smiled gently.
それにね、ひばりちゃん。君も尽くされることが得意じゃないのかもしれないね。
それって ってどういう。
してほしいことがあるならさりげなく相手に伝えるのが尽くされる人間の義務なんだ。そうすればお互いに気持ちよく尽くしたり尽くされたりできる。
Phew. To be honest, I wasn't quite sure I understood what Shion said, but the message felt important. I thought about it a moment, and then asked the question that had struck me immediately.
それは実体験に基づいて。
Shion simply chuckled.
想像にお任せするよ。
Looks like there's a CG in the next bit. A massive misconception. I insist I want to eat the same food as everyone else. Ichio reluctantly agrees, but... yeah, it does look like we're stuck with Ichio's board 1. Checking the main board. It does look like we can go and find out about the first meeting with Tsumugi. Do I do that now? Let's... Nah. Let's work our way through this mess first.
Tadai.
Ah, ja.
Outdoor set of clothes for Nayata too.
お帰りなさい、ひばりさん。
I opened the door almost, only to almost smack into Tiger and Nayata. Both of them were grinning ear to ear.
どうしたの？
カレールーを買いに行くんです。
一夜と夕飯のメニューかけて勝負したんだ。今夜はカレーだぜ。
Ooh, that sounds good.
おしゃれでもない、隠し味にもやたら凝らない、何の変哲もない、ごくごく普通のカレーだ。
じゃあ行ってきますね。
Normal curry. Nothing fancy. Regular curry. Did they mean the same regular curry and rice that I knew and loved? Fluffy, steaming white rice with savory curry sauce poured over top. Just the thought made my tummy growl. I want some. I really, really, really wanted some. Visions of curry rice mountains were dancing in my head. The memories of the dainty meals I'd been forced to tolerate lately only made the hunger pangs sharper. But no, I'm sure I won't be able to have any. I mean...
カレーだ。
カレーですね。
カレーだね。
ひばりさんには特別メニューでトマトのココット、カレー風味、ガーリックトースト添えだよ。
ひばりさん、こっちのカレー食べないんですか？
そんな平凡なカレーじゃひばりさんみたいな女の子は喜んでくれないだろ。
おお、こんなにうまいのにな。
残念だけどしょうがないね。
ボリュームも少なめの女の子サイズだよ。さあ召し上がれ。
I want to eat regular curry. Has there ever been another time in my life when I felt this strongly over a plate of plain old curry and rice? No, never. Then I had no choice. I had to say it now, or forever be stuck with my regrets. I breathed deeply, steeled myself, and then walked towards the kitchen. First, I needed to scout the enemy's position. I quietly peered around the kitchen door.
なぜ俺がこんな初歩的なカレーなんて。これじゃ腕の振るいようがないじゃないか。俺も見くびられたものだな。
Mumbling complaints to himself, Ichiya deftly peeled a handful of potatoes. I saw carrots, onion, and a generous pile of sliced meat on his cutting board too. Yep, all the correct ingredients to go in this curry. Curry ingredients! Run-of-the-mill curry ingredients! So lovely, so plain!
一夜さん、ちょっといい？
おや、俺の可愛い恋人さん、寂しくなっちゃったのかな。
With the bright smile he turned on me, it was hard to believe he was grumbling and complaining a minute ago. There were several things I wanted to say, but best to get the most important part over with first.
今日の夕飯はカレーなんでしょ？
はあ、大河たちに会ったんだね。まったく困ったものだよ。俺に一般的なカレーを作れだなんて。もちろんひばりさんにはちゃんと手の込んだ特別メニューを用意するさ。君のハートをぐっとつかむスペシャルな。
みんなと同じがいいの。みんなと同じものが食べたいの。だって一緒に住んでるんだから。それに毎回違う料理を作るのは一夜さんの手間でしょ。
Wait, this whole time has he been making something entirely different for us than the rest of them? What the hell, man? That was a persuasive argument if I did say so myself. I don't think that's going to get through to him. I think you just need to say, I want curry. I was feeling quite satisfied with myself. Ichiya looked at me, still seemingly unconvinced. So the rest of them isn't just, oh, you might as well have something since you're here as well. Right? Yeah. I nodded firmly, looking right back at him. I willed my thoughts to drill directly into his brain. Sorry, Hibari, he's dumb. You need to fully use your words. I'm sorry, girl. You're not going to get through to this guy by telepathy. I wanted to eat normal curry. After a moment, I could see his shoulders relax as the tension drained out of them. He smiled.
本当にひばりさんは優しい子だね。自分の好みを犠牲にしてまで俺のことを考えてくれるなんて。
Yeah, he is not getting it. What made him think that?
でもね、君はそんな心配しなくていいんだ。俺の一番の願いは、俺の手間暇かけた料理で君が幸せを感じてくれることなんだから。
Yeah, Hibari, I think you're just going to have to... You're just gonna have to grab him by his neckline and shake him. And say, I want normal food! In normal-sized portions! But she's not going to do that because she's far more polite than I am. Far more polite and far more reserved than I am. Because I would have punched this guy already. Multiple times. Right now, having regular curry would make me happy. They couldn't say it, not flat out. And therein lies the problem, Hibari. You gotta. Oh, ooh. I know a way around this. The easiest way to get around this is to just order Nayata to swap plates with us. Then we get ordinary food at ordinary portions. I desperately tried to come up with a convincing excuse. I don't want to be spoiled, or you aren't a servant. I don't want to be spoiled? I think? Oh, no!
甘えた人間にはなりたくないの。これまでだって厳しくしつけられてきたし、それが役立ったこともたくさんあるのよ。
Wrong choice. Well, now we've discovered what stats are involved. Barricades and axes.
だからこれからも特別扱いや甘やかしは受けたくないの。
A frown tweaked at the corner of Ichia's lips.
君を甘やかすのが俺の役目なんだけどね。
Leave it for times outside of meal times. I stayed quiet, looking straight at him. After a moment, Ichia backed down, letting a smile come to his lips.
自分に厳しいひばりさんは美しい。その美しさには誰も勝てないだろう。俺の乾杯だよ。俺はひばりさんのわがままなら何だって叶えてあげたい。たとえそれが苦しく辛いことでもね。
Ichia put his hand on his chest as if wounded. But the theatrics didn't move me. Because tonight, I get to eat normal curry for normal people!
それじゃあ夕食楽しみにしてるわね。
ああ、任せてくれ。
Please stay normal curry for normal people. I left the kitchen feeling so happy I almost started humming. I can hardly wait. I went through my homework with only half a mind, my brain occupied with dreams of curry. I couldn't help but let a giggle escape. Kasuga, who was setting out a cup of tea for me, smiled along with me.
何か嬉しいことでもありましたか？
私、分かったのよ。自分に打ち勝つことがどんなに素晴らしいか。
それは良かったですね。
I can hardly wait for dinner time. Stepping into the living room, I could already catch the savoury scent of curry wafting from the kitchen. It had been long enough since I last had normal curry that the smell was enough to make my tummy rumble. I quickly made my way to the dining room. I was halfway across the living room when I came to my senses. If they found out I was looking forward to curry this much, they'd definitely tease me over it. I had to calm down and treat this as any other evening. Well, nuts. It sounds like it's not normal curry after all. What's the overcomplicated chef done to the curry?
どうしたの?
I dashed to the dining room where the shout came from. The first thing I saw when I walked in was... curry. Technically, anyway. Well, it appears to have gained an egg on top. A fancy presentation. Some fancily prepared salad with those radish roses. I'm guessing the little jug next to it is salad dressing. I'm not sure what's in the ramekin. And or what's next to the ramekin. But not really! 5 prettily plated tiny balls of curry-spiced rice gratin sat on the table. My first thought was gratin. Yeah, it's not curry. It's gratin. Each had a dainty salad, a cup of lassi. I'm gonna need to Google that one. A yogurt-based beverage with a smoothie-like consistency. So that's what's in the ramekin then. Even a petite chocolate cupcake set by the side. That's the thing that's next to the ramekin then. Why were all the plates so pointlessly dressed up? Our discussion in the kitchen floated back to mind.
みんなと同じものが食べたいの。だって一緒に住んでるんだから。
He'd technically done what I asked, but at least the portions are the same size. Although they seem to be rather small. This isn't what I meant!
姫のご希望通りに準備してよ。さあ、冷めないうちに。
I was still too stunned to think straight. But Nayata, Tiger, and Shion were under no such constraints.
これじゃない。
違うよな。
そう？僕は好きだけど。
Of course you do, Shion. It's fancy. I'm sorry. I mentally apologized to Tiger and Nayata for indirectly subjecting them to weird people's curry. Wrecked by guilt, I tried not to squirm in my seat. Ichiya didn't notice. He looked at the others and sighed.
そんなにカレーライスが食べたければ好きにしてくれ。ルーの残りは鍋に。
よっしゃ
Nayata and Tiger gulped down their gratin and dashed to the stove. Both piled their plates high with normal curry. Steaming white rice, creamy curry roux, the spicy savoury scent taunted me. I want some of that too. But my wish hadn't gotten through. Ichia looked at me, grinning ear to ear with a brilliant smile.
満足してもらえた？
ええ、ありがとう。
You really need to tell him off properly, girl. My curry-spiced rice gratin tasted like tears and regret. Ichia from Nayata's perspective. Let's go for that one. Peeking into the living room, I saw Nayata happily chowing down on some rice balls.
夕飯食べたばっかりよね。
はい。でも全然足りなくて。イチヤさんの料理すごい美味しいのに全然おかわりくれないんですよね。
He did let you have seconds that one time. That is definitely true.
それに俺、ここ来るまで貧乏飯だったんで、おにぎりとか無償に食べたくなって。
そのおにぎりは自分で？
Nayata shook his head.
公園で会うおばあちゃんがくれるんです。この前もらったのはいなり寿司。その前はだし巻き卵。美味しかったな。
You've made a good friend, Nayata. She was feeding him treats. Like a stray. Ah well, at least it wasn't dog biscuits. And the rice balls Nayata was stuffing into his face did look delicious. Tender white rice wrapped in crispy seaweed. It was two simple ingredients, but that's what made it good.
こういうお袋の味ってほっとしますよね。
I completely understood that. Yes, meals at the main estate were generally prepared by skilled professional chefs. But I always preferred the simple family cooking that one of the assistants Sumiko would make. Her candied chestnuts were just... I reminisced about some of the most delicious things she'd made and started to nod along with him, but...
あ、でもやっぱりひばりさんにはおしゃれご飯ですよね。女の子は量より質だって一夜さんは。
Yeah, Ichia said that because he's sexist. Not all girls, thank you.
でも一夜さん、本当にすごいですよね。毎日メニューを考えて料理して。俺もそういうことした方がいいのかな。
那由他くん、料理できるの
Nayata squinched up his face, thinking.
焼くのとお湯を入れるのはできます。あとは頑張ります。
You can't say he's not trying.
頑張らなくて大丈夫。もっと他に向いてるものがあるから。
そうですよね。俺の得意分野か。
Did he agree, or had he simply stopped caring? Either way, I suppose I had at least saved the kitchen from being turned into a disaster area. Aw, let the boy cook. Hibari. If anything, it might piss Ichia off. Um... Oh no! So Drek, you said, does he want to make her bentos now as well? I think the answer is yes. A lunchtime delivery of love. Ichia barges into school, trespassing, with a packed lunch just for me. The whole cafeteria loses its mind. Three seconds left. 2, 1. The lunch chime rang and I was out of my seat so quickly it bordered on unseemly. I walked promptly to Tsumugi. Yes, this is a girls-only school that he is about to trespass onto. So no wonder the entire cafeteria is going to go crazy.
早くカフェテリアに行きましょう。今日の定食は何かしら。相変わらず腹ペコですのね。
デザートを2種類頼むのもいいわよね。
Tsumugi sighed and rolled her eyes as she stood. That was when it happened. My phone buzzed in my pocket.
ちょっと待って。ウィスが。
Oh no!
どうなさいましたの？
Tsumugi looked at me curiously. I simply showed her my phone screen. Message from Ichia Mitsumori. You're studying hard, I'm sure. You deserve a reward for your work, so I've prepared a big surprise. A perfect lunch packed with all my love. I've delivered it just for you. I'm waiting at the front gate. Okay, at least he hasn't stepped onto school grounds yet. At least that. Right.
学校に？
He came to my school with no advance warning whatsoever. To ruin my sacred hour of feeding.
とりあえず校門に行ってみましょうか。
行きたくない。
I couldn't take the hunger anymore. I struggled to compose myself while a student came flying into the room.
道場様、ご婚約者様をカフェテリアにご案内いたしました。
There was dead silence for a beat. And then the whole classroom erupted in squeals and squeeze. Everyone dashed for the door in an excited rush. That was the point I realized it was inevitable. I couldn't escape this. By the time I reached the cafeteria, a large crowd had already gathered. And of course, at the center of it was...
ひばりさん、待ってたよ。はあ、つむぎさんも一緒なんだね。
Ichia raised his hand in greeting when he saw me. That alone made the crowd lose its collective mind.
大変なことになってますわね。
I could just cry right now. Pushed by the stares of the crowd, I reluctantly made my way up to the table where Ichia stood. He gracefully ducked around to pull a chair out for me. Okay, how small's the lunch?
さあ、どうぞ。
crowd again broke into an excited chorus. Hiding my disappointment, I carefully composed myself as I sat.
すまないね。校門でお弁当を渡したらすぐに帰るつもりだったんだけど、大ごとになってしまって。
How do male leads keep dealing with all the loud crowds at every second? Yeah, who knows? I'm guessing if they hear it enough, they can kind of tune it out, probably. I smothered the urge to sigh. I could not afford to be anything other than perfectly polite in front of a crowd this large.
どうして急に学校へ？
実はね、ひばりさんからカフェテリアのことを聞いてから、春日くんにいろいろと教えてもらったんだ。そしたら、ここの生徒は料亭の仕出し弁当を持ち込んだり、出来たての料理を運ばせたりしてるって聞いてね。それで思ったんだ。俺もお弁当を持って会いに行こうって。
Yeah, but what kind of weird bento is this?
確かに持ち込みをしてる生徒はいるけど、それには事前に立ち入り許可が必要。一夜さん、どうやってここに？
もちろん許可を取ってもらったんだ。春日くんにね。
Joy. Kasuga. I resisted the urge to tear my hair out. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Ichia, of course, didn't even notice. He continued talking, no, boasting.
アニエスのシェフの腕前を知るいい機会だとも思ったしね。いろいろと勉強して帰ろうと思って。でもやっぱり一番の目的は君に愛を届けるためかな。
Our audience nearly lifted the roof of the cafeteria. I felt faint.
見積もりさん、そろそろお弁当を広げていただきませんと、ランチタイムが終わってしまいますわ。
ん？ああ、そうだったね。今準備するよ。
Yeah, quit with the chatting and make with the food. Ichia gave me one of his patented smiles and set something in front of me that I didn't expect.
ギフトボックスですな。
He's gift wrapped each individual small bit of food. I'm pretty sure this is probably not enough food for her, dude. And way too bloody fancy.
ひばりさん、好きな箱を開けてみて。
Like, given that those sandwiches are square, each of them must be like a quarter of a slice, right? Which is so small. As he suggested, I picked one of the little gift boxes and undid the ribbon holding it closed.
フルーツサンド。
Oh, okay. Actually, those sandwiches might be bigger than I thought then, maybe. If those red bits are strawberries, and well, strawberries do come in a number of different sizes, though. Another little box held spring rolls stuffed to bursting with shrimp and avocado. So that must be that other box that's open. yet another held a little dish of wonderfully caramelized creme brulee. Cute! Undoing all the colourful ribbons did bring a sense of excitement, like I really was opening presents on my birthday or Christmas.
いろんなものをちょっとずつ食べたい女子のわがままを考慮しつつ、プレゼントを開けるサプライズ感を演出。何よりもカラフルな箱とリボンという乙女の心をがっつりつかむ可愛らしさ。完璧ですわね。
Tsumugi nodded slowly, obviously impressed. Ichiya turned to look at me and asked,
気に入ってもらえたかな？
I really hated to admit it, but I did honestly think it was cute. I was reluctantly about to nod, but...
お手製のお弁当を届けてくださるなんて素敵すぎます。憧れてしまいますわね。私もいつかきっと。
どこから見ても完璧な方ね。あのような方が恋人だったらきっと幸せに違いありませんわよ。
本当に東條様が羨ましいですわ。
Gazes of envy and expectation stabbed into me. None of the girls in this crowd would be satisfied with a reluctant nod from me after a performance like this. How should the Tojo family heir act when sitting down to a handmade lunch with her perfect boyfriend? I know the answer to that. I turned my lips up in a smile and moulded my face into a gentle, happy expression.
ありがとう。すごく嬉しいわ。
I don't think you should have said that. Ichiya stared at me, too surprised even to blink.
どうしたの？
いや、そんなに喜んでもらえると思わなくて。俺も君の笑顔が見られて嬉しいよ。
The shrieks from the audience drilled into me and I hid a wince. Tsumugi noticed and turned to the crowd. Genuine compliments do in fact appear to short-circuit him. Well, although these compliments weren't entirely genuine, were they? She's playing a role here.
Minasan, そんなに注目されると、せっかくのお弁当も味がわからなくなってしまいますわよ。
俺からもお願いするよ。心を込めて作ったランチだから彼女に味わってもらいたいんだ。
At Tsumugi and Ichiya's gentle urging, the crowd slowly dispersed. At least to the edge of our vision, anyway. Doesn't matter if it's genuine, he won't notice the difference. That's true.
騒がせてしまってごめんね。でも心を込めて作ったのは本当だよ。よければ紬さんも一緒にどうぞ。
まあ、ではお言葉に甘えてね、ひばり様。
And now it's become lunch for two, which means it's definitely not enough food. To be honest, the fuss had killed my appetite. But Tsumugi prodded me enough that I took a small bite of a mini muffin. It's good. A savoury muffin. It had cheese and bacon baked into it. He must have made it entirely by hand. Ooh, cheese and bacon muffin. That sounds tasty. Ichiya knew how to cook, I couldn't deny that. He was tall, dark and handsome, older, suave, skilled at spoiling those he cares for, and not at all shy about expressing his love. In the eyes of most people, he would certainly be considered the ideal boyfriend. Ichia noticed I was staring at him and turned his patented cheesy smile on me.
ひばりさん、豆腐を使ったキッシュもどうかな。ズッキーニとスモークサーモンのピンチョスもどうぞ。
He set morsel after morsel in front of me and I quietly ate every bite. But that wasn't enough. I knew the crowd watching wanted more. They wanted to hear me say something. Fine, I'll finish the show for them. I swallowed a bite and painted a smile on my face.
一夜さん、ありがとう。
In the corner of my eye, I could see Samugi's brow furrow when I smiled at Ichia. Samugi knows that we were putting that on. I need some more water. I will be right back. I'm back. After lunch was finished, I saw him out to the school gate. There, Ichia turned to face me.
ランチタイムを騒がせるつもりはなかったんだ。困らせちゃったよね。
Ah, he understands that it wasn't pleasant. Honestly, it was extremely unpleasant. Downright painful even, but I couldn't say that. You really should, girl.
でも今日学校に来て得るものがたくさんあったよ。君が他の生徒から慕われていることも分かったしね。
I turned my eyes away and thought. The rest of the students looking up to me. I couldn't deny it. But they didn't really look up to me. It was the Tojo name that held their fascination. All of a sudden, I felt my chest tighten. I turned away from Ichia so he couldn't see me wince.
そろそろ授業が始まるから。
ちょっと待って。
He dashed off to his sports car, which was parked not far away. He rummaged around in it for a bit and came trotting back with a small bag in his hands.
クッキー焼いたんだ。よければお友達と一緒に食べて。
A good additional food. It was a cute little packet of cookies. I'm sure he went to a lot of work to bake them. Considering all his effort, I couldn't say no. I reached out to take the bag. I felt a tug as my hands were swallowed by his. I looked up at his face in surprise. He held my hands gently, oh so gently. Far more hesitantly too than I'd expect from someone with such an overabundance of confidence.
驚かせてごめん。でも今の俺は君が思っているほど余裕がないんだ。
Ichia was unexpectedly serious, especially for him. I swallowed.
いつもなら学校に押しかけたりしない。でも俺にしかできない方法はこれしか見つけられなくて。俺だけにできることで君に振り向いてほしくて。
I thought I saw a little pain in Ichia's wry grimace. Memories of the look on his face when he asked me how his cooking tasted returned to my mind. Thoughtful, worried, insecure. He always acted confident, but under it all, he's bluffing. I paused a moment, then quietly said,
女心への理解と知識が豊富なんじゃなかったの？
少しくらいは格好つけさせて。男なんだから。必死なんだ。俺はひばりさんと一番年齢が離れてるし、普通の女の子が喜ぶことをしてみせても、なぜか君相手だとうまくいかない。
Because girls are not a monolith, Ichia. They're individual people. Things that make normal girls happy. Something about what he said struck me as odd.
でも今日、周りの子に君とお似合いだって言われて、少しだけ自信が持てた気がするよ。
He smiled at me. After a moment of thought, I said, let go of my hands. Yeah. Hands off, dude.
で、話して。
My words weren't particularly sharp, but Ichia's face still froze.
学校だし、誰かに見られても困るから。
そうだね。
Ichia's hands went limp. I pulled mine away.
クッキーは
ただきます。つむぎは甘いものが好きだから。
ひばりさんは？
Ichia looked at me imploringly, obviously waiting anxiously for me to say yes.
よかった。
I felt my eyes slide away as his face immediately broke into a brilliant smile. He dropped his eyes, looking at his wristwatch.
そろそろ時間だね。名残惜しいけど帰るよ。
Yes! Go! Now! He raised his hand in a wave and walked over to his car. He opened the door and then turned back around to me.
お弁当、あんな風に喜んでもらえて嬉しかったよ。少しは俺の愛が届いたかな。
I hesitated a breath, wondering how I was supposed to react to that. I settled on a vague smile.
その笑顔、俺以外には見せないでくれ。君という宝石が盗まれては大変だからね。それじゃあ、愛の巣で待ってるよ。
He left me with his trademark schmaltzy wink and zoomed away in his sports car. As I watched him drive away, I rubbed my hands together. His hands were pretty chilly. Was he nervous, perhaps? Did he always feel like this? Was he nervous every time he spoke to me? Every time he served a meal for me? Looking at it that way, all of a sudden the attitude I'd taken with him seemed a little cold. I didn't know what to say, so I simply held out the bag of cookies Ichia had given me. But before Tsumugi could say more, she was interrupted by the chime of the bell. I sat at my desk and looked out of the window, thoughts of Ichia right before he left floating in my mind. He's glad the lunch he cooked for me made me happy. The face I'd showed to him today was my public face. It's no mystery why he reacted well to it. My public face was one I wore specifically to please the people around me. Well, thinking about it, my public face was probably the one I ought to be wearing all the time. I mean, what normal girl wouldn't be overjoyed to see her ideal boyfriend come to visit her at school with a lunch made especially for her? I hadn't been. Could there be something wrong with me? No, I think there's something wrong with him, Hibari. Doubts ran through my mind, dampening my mood. I spent the rest of class sitting in a cloud of my own uncertainty. I mean, it would be nice if he was in fact her boyfriend. However... Oh, Wiz message. Sorry for dropping in on you at your school without warning. If you don't mind, I'll happily make more packed lunches for you. I really think you deserve nothing less than the freshest, tastiest meals. Would it be okay if I delivered them? No thanks! Or if... Ooh! No thank you or just ignore him. Ooh, those are choices. We'll respond, it's polite. Not that we're being polite about it. Well, we are. We're saying no thank you instead of just no. No thank you. They're delivering them, I think. That's the main question that he's asked. I can't take any more. Common food doesn't suit me. What? For real? That's it. I'm fed up. Ooh.
おはよう、ひばりさん。今日も素敵な君にぴったりなスペシャルモーニングを用意したよ。
How weird is this morning's breakfast? Ichia put a plate in front of me with a single pancake on it that was no bigger than my palm. One Scotch pancake, dude? One? Make it two, and then at least that's reasonable. Yes, it's... Yeah, a slice of buttered toast is at least slightly larger than a Scotch pancake. It was topped by 3 blueberries, a few decorative flourishes of whipped cream, and even some delicately placed silver confeito beads. I guess it's not just the pancake, but...
このヨーグルトもどうぞ。濃厚だよ。
And yogurt. At least technically, all of these things... relatively normal breakfast stuff. The little cup held maybe 3 spoonfuls of yogurt. Ah, it's a kid's yogurt. Got it. I didn't say anything. I simply took up my fork and knife and cut the tiny pancake into even tinier pieces. Placing one teeny bite in my mouth, I chewed it daintily. Then I turned towards Ichia and smiled a gentle, kind smile.
おいしい。
そうだろう。君を朝から幸せにすることができて、俺は最高に嬉しいよ。
Unfortunately, Ichia, you don't know her well enough to know that you are pissing her off first thing in the morning. That is not a happy smile, that is a great, this again smile.
いつもありがとう。
おい、お嬢。頭でも打ったのかよ。
あ、それか。何か悪いもの食べたとか。お腹は大丈夫なんですか？
一夜に関する記憶消えちゃってる。
Ichia snorted at the others, who were all staring at me with funny looks.
まったく、どうしてそうなるんだ？俺はひばりさんを幸せにする努力をしてるんだよ。喜ばれるのは当然だろう。
ええ、いろいろと工夫してくれて感謝してるわ。
ごちそうさま。
Right? We would feel more cared for if there was a reasonable amount of food. The words were no sooner out of my mouth than Ichia presented me with a small cloth-wrapped box. Ah, he's prepared lunch again, has he? At least he's not going to bring it to us.
今日のランチだよ。君好みに作ったから。
Ichia tipped his usual cheesy wink. I smiled at him.
ありがとう。行ってきます。
いってらっしゃい。
すごい。ひばりさんが一夜さんに笑ってた。
マジでやべえぞ、あれ。
Tiger's just like, who are you and what did you do with the Barry?
ストレスは肌の大敵なんだけど大丈夫かな。
足りますの？
Spending energy to answer would only make me hungrier, so I simply picked up the mini sandwich wrap. Ooh. One wrap and it's not even normal sized. Oof. Yes, the sandwich was cute to look at. It was cut into tiny bites and wrapped in colourful paper. But none of the tiny pieces amounted to a single bite.
よければこれ召し上がりません？
I mean, is there anything stopping us just getting a cafeteria meal as well? Is there anything stopping us dumping this lunch in the bin and getting a cafeteria meal instead? Tsumugi offered one of her small rice balls to me. It was a plain and simple one, just white rice wrapped with a sheet of nori seaweed. Yeah, I'm not a cut-up sandwich sort of person. Well, cut in half, maybe, to make it slightly easier to handle. But I don't even always do that. Looking at it suddenly made my throat tighten and tears well up in my eyes. I wanted to take it. I wanted to shove the whole thing in my mouth. But instead I shook my head.
いいの。ありがとう。
Tsumugi looked at me worriedly. But right then, two other girls walked past our table.
見て、道場様のお弁当かわいい。
Yeah, it's cute.
きっとあの婚約者様のお手製ですわ。
I heard their whispers and felt their eyes boring holes into me. I know. Popped a bite of mini sandwich wrap into my mouth and dutifully turned up the corners of my lips.
とっても美味しい。ひばり様。
Tsumugi sounded exasperated. I looked away. This is where we need to secret each our own class. Yeah, no. What we need is for for Kasuga to take us to the combini on the way to school or the way back from school. Have extra meals of normal food.
これはかなり悪い傾向ですわよ。ひばり様が行動に気をつけるべき立場なのは私も重々承知しております。ですがそれは外でのお話ですわ。彼らの前で態度を取り繕っても後々ご自分が苦しむだけですのよ。
She cast a meaningful glance at my lunchbox as if to say, "Look at how far this has already gone."
5次元目は体育ですわよ。本当に大丈夫ですの？
大丈夫。
I was sure. Probably. Mostly. I hoped.
ただいま。
おかえりなさいま。
My stomach rumbled loudly, cutting Kasuga off. The body tells no lies. I slumped, hungry and exhausted. Kasuga smiled gently at me.
夕食までは時間がありますから、おやつをご用意しますよ。ご希望はございますか？
キラキラしてなくて可愛くなくてとにかくいっぱい。
Food and lots of it.
重症ですね。
でももしかなうならすみこさんの手料理が食べたい。栗の甘露にかぼちゃの煮物、筑前煮。
Thought of her cooking alone was enough to make me salivate. I could remember the taste so well. If I could have some of her cooking right now, I would never want for anything else. Nothing at all.
ご用意して差し上げたいのですが、すみこさんは大奥様付きですので、本家から出るのは難しいかと。
わかってる。言ってみただけ。
すみこさんの休みの日にこちらへ来ていただくというのであれば可能かもしれませんが。
I shook my head. I couldn't take her day off away from her. If asked, I know she would come right away. The commotion in the living room yanked me out of my thoughts. What's going on? I walked over to see what was happening. Inside the room, I saw an enormous pile of Daifuku rice cakes stacked on the table pyramid style.
ひばりさん、おかえりなさい。大福天国ですよ。もっと近くで見てください。
That sounds excellent. Nayata took me by the hand and guided me closer to the Daifuku hill on the table. The smooth white mochi cakes were stuffed so full of bean paste they looked fit to burst. And each was uneven, the hallmark of being handmade. My very favourite kind of Daifuku cakes.
これ
公園のおばあちゃんがくれました。みんなで食べなさいって。これいっぱい食べるからこんなに。
You've got a good friend there, Nayata.
そう。
Nayata's words barely reached my ears. They were practically drowned out by the rumbling of my stomach.
お嬢も早く食えよ。ザ・お袋の味だぜ。
大福って初めてだったけどすごく美味しいよ。羊くん、日本茶入れてくれる？
かしこまりました。
ささ、早く食べましょう。もっちもちなんですから。
Yeah, we absolutely need to go visit that granny. It sounds like she makes the exact kind of food that Hibari wants. I resisted the urge to snatch one up for myself and stuff it into my mouth. Instead, I held out my hand to accept the cake Nayata was holding out to me.
ちょっと待った。
Ah, you're gonna get in the way.
ナユタ、その手に持っているものを下ろしてもらおうか。
え、大福王ですか？
Nayata looked confused, but he still lowered the hand holding the daifuku cake. No!
彼女のためのスイーツなら俺がちゃんと用意してある。おかしなものは食べさせないでくれ。
But I want the strange park lady food.
おい、イチヤ、そりゃねえぜ。この大福のどこがおかしいんだよ。
甘さもちょうどいい具合だしね。
そうだそうだ、おばあちゃんはすごい料理上手なんですから。
Exactly! I can tell they'll be delicious just by looking at them! Though he was attacked from all sides, Ichiya simply shrugged his shoulders and shook his head.
気づいてないのかい？その大福には粉がついてるだろう。つまり食べたらどうなる？
Powdered sugar will go everywhere, and that's the point, Ichiya. I wish to become covered in powdered sugar.
おいしい？
違う。口の周りが真っ白になるだろう。それはレディーを恥ずかしめる行為だよ。
Ichiya, thinking that I'd only get the white powder around my mouth. It is going everywhere, dude. He wasn't going to listen to them. The tone reasonable, I spoke up.
一夜さん、私も大福は大好きよ。それに、せっかくいただいた。
分かってる。君はいい子だ。作った人間の心を考えてきれいに食べてあげるだろう。だがそんな君にだからこそ、味はもちろん食べやすさや可愛らしさに配慮すべきなんだ。
Yeah, if we were at a fancy high-class party, we would have napkins anyway. It's fine. Ichiya snorted in contempt and continued.
その大福は所詮近所のおばあちゃんが作った家庭料理。可愛さのかけらも感じられないよ。
Yeah, they're not fancy. That's how you can tell they're tasty, Ichiya. Something can be super fancy and not tasty at all, because all the effort gone into making it look fancy. I want the weird, misshapen, handmade ones that are tasty.
これはひばりさんの口には合わないね。というより、ひばりさんに似合わない。
Doesn't suit me. My brows furrowed. Something about Ichiya's words struck me as off.
じゃあ何なら似合うの？
それはもちろんカラフルで可愛いトッピングにまでこだわったスイーツかな。女の子が好きそうなとびきりのね。
Nap. I felt something inside me break.
そんなものより大福の方がいいって言ったら。
え？
大福は女の子らしくない？それを私が好きだったら失望するわけ？
ひばりさん？
It's finally time to unload on him. I glared at Ichiya as I held out my hand towards Nayata again.
その大福ちょうだい。
That's an order.
はい。
The cake plopped into my hand with a weighty thump. I opened my mouth wide and... I stuffed the entire fist-sized cake into my mouth, my mochi-stuffed cheeks swelling outward as I chewed. Swallowing the giant mouthful, I wiped my mouth with the back of my hand, leaving a big white streak behind.
もう一個。
はい。
Naoto obeyed, handing me another plump daiku cake. Chipmunk style indeed. Or hamster. Hamster cheeks. Hamster cheeks full of mochi. I shoved it into my mouth and wolfed it down as quickly and crudely as the first.
Hibari sama, ocha o.
I took the cup of tea and slammed it, washing down the last of the second cake.
それから口というか顔をお拭きください。粉まみれで妖怪のようですよ。
I took the hand towel he handed me, resisting the urge to tell him to shut up. After I wiped the last of the powdered sugar from around my mouth, I turned my best smile on Naota.
すごく美味しかったわ。ごちそうさま。お友達のおばあ様によろしく伝えてね。
はい。絶対に伝えます。
Oh, we're stopping it too, are we? Naota nodded so hard I was afraid his head would snap. I giggled and then turned to look at Ichia. Contemptuously. His gaze held mine, fearfully. I saw his eyebrow twitch as he moved backwards one step.
ねえ、一夜さ
な、
ん。
なんだい？
私はね、確かに女の子よ。でもね、ご飯はたくさんおかわりするし、口の周りが真っ白になっても大福が好き。それに、洋食より和食派なの。
え？
可愛いものだってもちろん好きよ。用意してもらったものならきちんといただきたいとも思ってる。でもね、
I understood why his remark had struck me as strange. But she hadn't been trying to make me happy at all. This whole time he'd been cooking according to what he believed a normal girl should eat.
あなたは私のことなんかこれっぽっちも考えてない。
She stared at me, absolutely gobsmacked.
ナイフ君。
はい。
大福、もう一つもらっていい？
Ah, we are going for a third one.
はい。
He timidly sidled up to me and gently placed another cake in my hand. Hey, there's no need for him to be scared. He's doing what we want. Unless he's scared we're going to wolf down the entire mountain of Daifuku. I shot Ichia one last glare before I emphatically turned my back on him and left the living room.
ついにお嬢が切れたな。
でも大福は喜んでくれました。おばあちゃんに早くお礼言いたいな。
確かに今までで一番うまそうに食ってたな。
ですよね。ひばりさん、こういうのが好きだったんだ。
一夜、顔青いけど大丈夫？
本当だ。一夜さんもおばあちゃんの大福食べて元気出してくださいよ。
そうだぜ。まあお嬢も女受けするテンプレ飯に飽きたってことだろう。次からもっとシンプルにいけって。
ひばりちゃんが言い続けてた普通をちゃんと理解できるといいね。
Being said, don't feed us Daifuku every day. That's true. Yeah, look, it sounds like everyone else here has realized what the problem is except for Ichia.
あれは完全に地雷でしたね。
地雷？どういうことだ？
ひばり様は三森様のおっしゃった似合わない家庭料理でお育ちになられましたので。
And he's broken. Repentance, regrets, and... Ichiya ran away? Is it possible he's thinking about withdrawing as my suitor? Should I apologize? For part of it, anyway. No. I looked at my reflection in the mirror. It didn't give me an answer. I didn't think what I did yesterday was wrong, per se. I do like common suburban-style cooking, and I don't think it's polite to nitpick food given as a gift. But maybe I went a little overboard with my reaction. Well, yeah, you could have saved yourself from going overboard if you'd... I was going to say if you properly explained yourself before, but you really did your best on that one. I'm not sure it would have got through to him at anything less than the level that you gave yesterday. I couldn't think of a good answer. I eventually gave up and plodded downstairs. I peeked into the dining room. Kasuga greeted me with his usual smile. For some reason, he was holding a bowl of miso soup.
おはようございます。今、朝食をご用意しますね。
Confused, I looked around the dining room. Shion was there, along with Tiger and Nayuta. No one else.
なんだお嬢、キョロキョロして。一夜なら家で中だぞ。おお、春日の味噌汁うまいな。
Tiger's offhand comment caught me entirely off guard. I wasn't sure I heard it correctly.
家で？
昨日フラフラっと出て行ってまだ帰ってきてないんですよ。
His Kasuga's cooking even better than Ichiya's. Well, it's definitely it's definitely more likely to have things that Hibari likes, isn't it? He knows her well, after all.
探しには行かないの？
あいつだっていい大人なんだ。腹減りゃ戻ってくんじゃねえのか。あ、これいただき。
あ、俺の酒
Oh, these two's reactions. Well, they also wanted simpler food, so...
うっせえ、おかわりすりゃいいだろ。春日はケチケチしねえんだから。
もうそうですけど。
ひばりちゃんも早く朝ごはん食べよう。和食好きなんだよね。
Shion had no sooner said that than Kasuga appeared carrying a tray with my breakfast on it.
さあ、早く食べないと遅刻しますよ。
As told, I started to eat my breakfast. But... Ichiya running away? I hadn't meant to hurt him. Certainly not badly enough that he felt like he had to run away into the night. I wondered what he had felt when he left. What was he thinking? What did he hope to do, if anything at all? Will he really come back? With all the questions lodged in my chest, it was a wonder I managed to push my breakfast past any of them.
朝はもう家にいなかったの。
Lunchtime. Tsumugi and I sat together as always. After I finished telling her the story, she nodded and said,
だから今日はお弁当じゃないんですのね。
"Yeah, they've certainly they've certainly wiggled underneath her barriers, haven't they?" I looked down at my plate. Tsumugi sighed.
ひばり様、
Her voice was unexpectedly stern. I felt my shoulders slump. When I looked up, I saw her smiling brightly at me. But her eyes were cold as ice.
私ご忠告しましたわよね。彼らの前で態度を取り繕ってはならないと。もちろん素朴な家庭料理をけなしたり、女子はこうだという型にはまった三森さんの考え方はいただけませんわ。ですけれど、ひばり様はそれに対して和食が好きだ、おかわりがしたいと一度でも伝えたことがありまして。
All I could do was shake my head.
それではあなたの要望を知る手立てはありません。今回の件はひばり様が見栄を張ったことも要因の一つです。三森さんがお弁当を届けに来た時、あなたは嬉しいと言いましたもの。それを希望に添えたと感じるのは当然ですわ。
Tsumugi was right. I thought back on our talk at the school gate that day and the happy expression on his face. He'd said he was glad I enjoyed the lunch he made. Holding my hands with his cold ones.
やっとあなたのツボを見つけたと喜んだ矢先、突然ブチギレられた。さぞ三森さんはショックだったでしょう。気の身気のままで行方をくらませてしまうくらい。
悪かったとは思ってるの。
There was a reason he kept forcing skimpy meals on me. It was because I responded positively to them. I gave him the reaction he wanted to see, that's why. I balled my fists and looked down, racked with guilt. Tsumugi gave me a wry grimace.
ひばり様は他人の期待に応えようと一生懸命になる方ですわ。もちろんそれは素晴らしい美点です。でも相手ときちんと向き合いたいのなら、本当の自分を見せることも大切ですのよ。まあ気になる殿方には小食で可愛いスイーツが好きな乙女だと思われたい気持ちはわかりますけれど。
そうね、乙女に。ってちょっと待って、何よ今の話の流れ。
あら、そういうことではなくて、三森さんには大食いと思われたくない、ダサめの料理が好きだとバレたくない、つまり可愛い女子だと思われたい、こういうことでは。
そんなわけないでしょ。
Tsumugi only looked at me and smiled. I felt my face grow hotter and hotter. Not it. Not at all. I mean, me? And Ichia? No.
萌えですわ。
I fixed her with a disgruntled glare.
今なんて。
とにかく
Tsumugi pretended not to hear. She continued her lecture cheerfully.
今は仲直りすることを考えましょう。彼の居場所がわからないのであれば、ミスを送ってみてはいかが？
Well, there wasn't any other way I could find him. I reluctantly nodded and Tsumugi smiled. I am going to take the opportunity of this scene change to end the stream for today. So, thank you very much for coming. It's been fun. Even if we've had to deal with this. If you're new here and you've enjoyed your time, please, I'm not going to push through to finish the board. I don't know if the size of the of that section is equivalent to the size of it. So we're gonna end it here. Yeah, if you enjoyed your time, consider subscribing to the channel. You can also follow me on social media, which is linked in the description box. The streaming schedule for the channel goes up both on social media and here on YouTube. I don't think I put it there in the posts tab of the channel. I think I forgot to do that this week. I did forget to do that this week. It will be up there in about 5 minutes. The next scheduled stream of this week is Wednesday, 7 PM for some Tales of Symphonia. So I hope to see you then, or another time. Once again, thank you very much for coming, and this is Kalla signing out. See ya, bye bye.